Hello, my beautiful Cancer Moon Children family, and welcome to our October 2021 reading. This month is so spiritual. It's so beautiful. We are working through Libra and Scorpio season, and for me, this season is always some of the deepest learning and growing of the whole year, and also one of the deepest times to really integrate into our soul self. And for Cancers, this month is very supportive. So we're going to have the sun moving through Libra, new moon moving through Libra, and a Mercury retrograde moving through Libra. Fellow cardinal sign, this is all fourth house, like your soul song, like right, listening from the inside out, which is very Cancerian and very nourishing to you. So really looking at your home environments and the hidden parts of yourself that aren't about the public performance of yourself or what other people think of you, but like your most intimate spaces, and really taking the time to care for those and nurture those and let the magic of those spaces be where so much of your energy and brightness comes moving forward. I love working with fourth house energy. And then of course we have the sun and Mars will be moving into Scorpio, fellow water sign. And as more energy moves through into Scorpio, we're going to be having that really great symbiosis with Cancerian energy where you can really use your gifts of sensitivity and kind of psychic connection to really hear your soul and be tapped in. So a lot of the energy this month is going to be about tapping in deeply and really using your innate Cancerian gifts in the way that you naturally do them. So I really love when there's support like that. Also, just to note before we get into the cards that we have a lot of planets going direct this month as well. Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter are all going direct. Pluto in your 7th house of relationships, and Jupiter and Saturn in your 8th house of transformation. So you may be finding that there's a little more ease and clarity both in your deep relationships as well as in how you are expanding and growing and changing and getting a better grasp on all of that. I had a message when it comes to like this very spiritual, very transformative, very connective, especially for Cancerians this month. I was thinking about what messages are coming up, and it was making me think about how in transformation and change and in shifting, maybe especially if we're reviewing what home means and we're noticing that home means something different now than it did when we were 7. Probably for most of us that is true, deeply, deeply true. And how as we grow and as we change, we never really lose ourselves. Like we never lose the memories. We never lose like all those different versions of ourselves. They're a part of us. They live as real things, those memories, those thoughts. So sometimes we grieve, the loss of the practical, grounded, real thing, whatever that is. We grieve the loss of those items that reminded us of childhood, or that household, or that place we used to walk. And and these are the kinds of memories that can come up 20 years later, when you're living a completely different life and you're pretty happy with it, you can still long for different parts of yourself. And if you have been going through a big transition this year or big transformation this year, which I know a lot of us, 2021 has been the biggest adventure so far, it's really great to know that you are taking those memories as living, vital, alive parts of yourself with you. They aren't some dead, moving thing that just sits with you and holds you and controls you. They are something that are alive and living and a living part of you. And a card just fell, so let's pick it up. It is Queen of Swords. All right, clarity. And I have been learning so much. I'm married to a Cancer who happens to be Swedish, and I have discovered so many things, including a show called Moomin, and it's this little cartoon. It's based off of books, these really beautiful books. But there's a character called Snus Mumriken, who is this kind of guy. He just likes to fish and walk and sit on rocks and think and reflect, and and smokes his pipe, and he's very much just kind of like this foresty, naturey, reflective character. And he once said in one of the stories, that's how it is when you start to have things. Now I just look at them, and when I go away, I carry them in my head. then my hands are free because I don't have to carry a suitcase. And I love this life philosophy because so often we feel like we're losing things, right? As we keep changing and you know, every year you keep living, it feels as though that change is so immense. The amount of changes, the amount of things that come and go is so immense it can feel a little overwhelming. And this life philosophy and the Empress, all right, loving it, is very much about knowing that nothing's ever truly lost, but is constantly living and intertwined and interconnected. And that message just came up for me for some reason when I was looking at Cancerian energy. This is, like I said, a very deeply spiritual month, and a month where you might be acknowledging how much you've grown. I'm going to pull a third card from my Hidden Worlds Oracle deck that I just got from a lovely patron. Thank you, Donna. Let's see. Returning home. I love it. Transition, life between lifetimes, loving welcome. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think with these planets going direct this month, these big outer planets, outer planet retrogrades and then direct motion tend to be a little subtler in the way that we're learning, right? Because they're like long range. They happen every year for many months at a time. But when we have these planets going direct, there's a real understanding that we have changed since spring or March 2021, and April 2021, that we have come to something new. And I get this sense with Cancerian family that there is this understanding that there is new growth starting to show up, actually. I don't actually think, even though Scorpio season is so often, related to like autumn, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, autumn and the withering away of things. Interestingly enough for me, there's kind of this acknowledgement that while you may be acknowledging what's been lost or what's left, this is actually a season of deep creativity and deep understanding of where you're headed next. And when I see these two ladies, yes, I'm very excited. The Queen of Swords and the Empress, these two are so lovely. They really have different modalities, but they are so powerful. So Queen of Swords is all about boundaries and clear communication. And I will say this month that that's going to be a huge theme. Mars is going to be in Libra basically all of October, and Mercury is going to be retrograding in Libra the first almost 3 weeks of October. So we're going to be doing a ton when it comes to true communication. And it's kind of like what Brene Brown said, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And that is very much Queen of Swords energy. This is about cutting into deep conversations, and that can be with partners. This is, often Queen of Swords for me reminds me of like having really, like vulnerable conversations and check-ins with your partners and the people that are really intimate with you. But this can also relate to, work environments or friendships or family relationships that are where you are feeling that urge to go deeper, right? Like not every relationship needs a deep, clean conversation, right? But like the Queen of Swords is saying this is a time to get really clear. Now, Queen of Swords is also, with what we have going on for you, this is also going to be about clarity when it comes to what is being cut away and no longer serving you and where you're going to put your energy. It's really about discerning and refining where your energy is going, right? Because we don't want you to be having energy leaks, Cancer. We want to hold your beautiful energy for what is right for you, what is meant for you, what feels good for you, what sends you loving energy. And that's really where Queen of Swords comes in here, because it gives you clarity on that. And yes, this can clarify if you have any ambiguous situations in your life. I'm noticing with this message and some of that Libran energy moving through that this can be a time of a lot of clarifying on that front. But here's the thing, not only are we maybe making some space and going into some deep places, this is also a time of flowering and creativity. And honestly, as energy keeps moving into Scorpio, this is a very creative time for Cancers. This is a very lit up time. And the Empress is all about that beautiful creative process, right? She is the lush creativeness. And yes, she's got that mothering energy, but it's the mothering energy of all creative processes. There's almost like this springtime happening. So for those of you in the southern hemisphere, that's literally happening. For those of you in the northern hemisphere, this may not feel like the season that it is. And that's really interesting to me because there's this soul flourishing going on. You know, the Empress is also about doing things not from a place of effort, not from a place of forcing yourself to do it all and be it all and create it all, but doing it from a place of, if I relax, if I just take the pressure off of my shoulders, if I just lay back and let the world speak to me, the right actions will move through me. So both of these cards, actually, Queen of Swords and the Empress, have a message around purpose and like focus versus effort. And when things feel like effort, look at that. And when it feels like focus, when it feels like ease, when it feels like flow, follow that. That's not to say vulnerable conversations and getting deeper and clearer and being really vulnerably raw in our creative process isn't going to feel a little intimidating and overwhelming sometimes and require us to show up with like our heart racing and, you know, not sure what the outcome is going to be. But that it's something that's flowing out of you without you having to force it or trying to make it what you think it has to be. So there's this really strong message. Now, I love that we get this card in the Oracle deck. Returning home, transition, life between lifetimes, loving welcome. So this is a transformational card. Like what it makes me think of, and when you see the image, you kind of see these ascending souls, right? Moving through this gateway, this Vrba kind of situation going on. And it's yes, you've left behind a lifetime. You've left behind a version of yourself. And you are coming back home to your spiritual self, right? And so you're feeling that wholeness, that oneness, that connectiveness, that connective tissue. And it's also taking you to new places. And I think this is really interesting. This is a really interesting time because in some ways, October is going to kind of feel like a new year for the Cancer family, for the Moon Children family, because it's going to feel like suddenly there's something that's making sense. Suddenly there's something that is moving in a way where it doesn't feel like you're going back around the same loop. It doesn't feel like you are trying to solve the same problem and coming back to the same problem. You know, like there's this breakthrough that's happening here that I'm seeing with all the energy, like huge breakthrough energy. And I do think the energy this month is very supportive of you. It is going to take you to some deep spiritual places. It is going to ask you to welcome your soul and your being as you are now and really love the creative things that want to flow out and hear those things, not try to shut them down just to keep familiar stability around, but to really let those voices come through and share the wisdom. Like you're going to be getting that call over and over again, but that doesn't mean it needs to be painful. In fact, I think what's going to happen is you're going to be noticing when you go in to do your meditation or to feel a feeling or to check in on something, that where you may be expecting to just feel kind of some heavier emotions, you're going to feel breakthroughs coming in. You're going to feel the sense that you are returning home, that you are returning to your soul self. You know, this returning home card reminds me a lot of life between lives, like that type of hypnotherapy. It's a really interesting deep dive if you ever want to go into that, with people who experience when between their different lifetimes going to this energetic place of wholeness, that they're always held, and it's like remembering that. And so there's a really strong message here of remember that you're always held, remember that you are meant to be here, remember that you are held, remember that you are allowed to say what you need, remember that you're allowed to create in new ways, remember that you are allowed to start a whole new cycle that doesn't have to be about the familiar. All of that is being broadcasted here, that you are supported, that there is loving energy moving through you and surrounding you and holding you. And I just love seeing that. So this is a really warm, nourishing month at a soul level. And I think you will find that as you work through the energy this month. I'm going to be getting a lot deeper on Mercury retrograde over on my Patreon. We do like worksheets to begin and end it all. I talk through it every single week, as well as how we're going to adjust as these planets move direct. So if you're really looking for some more support, my friends, I'd love to see you there. Of course, I will continue to be here, so I'd love to see you here as well. If you want to like and subscribe and hang out with me, it means the world to me. You can also find me on my Instagram at Sarah Vrba, as well as on my website. So I'll leave all my links below so you know where to find me, my beautiful friends. I hope you have such a magical, beautiful October, and I will see you for November's readings and for all the full new moon action going on in October as well. Talk to you soon, my friends.